us into the same realm with God. But because there is something that is dead in man, if you look at the book of Romans, chapter 7, Paul was writing, telling us that the law is spiritual. Okay? What was meant to give life, because the Spirit gives life. The law is spiritual. What was meant to give life, we found out that it began to work death inside of man. And that was the position that law, occupied the moment the law was given. And so, the righteousness that was supposed to come from the law was no longer possible. Why? Because man has fallen short. The righteousness that is supposed to come from the law was only meant to be fulfilled if only man had not fallen from the standard of God. Okay, now what was the standard that God put man in the Garden of Eden? It was that man will completely live life through the eyes of God. That man will completely live life through the eyes of God. What does that mean? It means that decision that man makes must be based on what God inspired him to make. Every step man made was supposed to be the one God inspired him to make. Now, but in the Garden of Eden, they listened to another voice. He said, is it true that God said you should not eat out of this tree? He said, for the day you eat out of this tree, you shall be like God. They never knew that they were exactly like God. So they listened, fell short of being like God. And so it was no longer possible that the righteousness, that the law was going to be able to produce the righteousness of God any longer in the fallen man. And so the righteousness that is by the law, instead of it bringing life to man, it brought death. That's what Paul explained in Romans chapter 7. Now, there is now a righteousness that is apart from the law, which is the righteousness that God gave to us through faith in Christ Jesus. Now, it is that one that makes us to now come back to the same level with God, the standard of God that we lost at the Garden of Eden. Now, this is what happens.